Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us. For this special figure showcase we're going to be looking at some of the Generation 1 and Generation 2 sparkabots and firecons. What we're going to do in this video, we're going to have a quick look at them in both of their modes. I'm going to point out some things that you need to be aware of if you're after collecting them for yourself, and I'm lucky enough to have a couple of bits of packaging as well, so we can have a look at that as well. Okay, before we get started, this video is especially for one of my subscribers, Neil Rockman, who also has an amazing Transformers collection, and he runs his YouTube under Herald of Unicron. It's been a pleasure hunting and getting these for you, pal, and as I say, I'm really glad we've managed to get them for your collection as well. So let's get started. What we've got, I've put to the left hand side of all the figures the original Generation 1s for the Autobots, and ironically enough for the Decepticons I've put the Generation 1s on the right hand side. So let's go through them. We have Fizzle, which is this guy here, and the interesting story with him and why I've started with him first is he seems to be the only character who had a name change between Generation 1 and Generation 2. So obviously in Generation 1 he was known as Fizzle and he came out in 1988, but then in the European and Australasian markets, when he was packaged up in his Generation 2 packaging, he was known as Blaze. That came out in 1993, and that's that one there. And as I say, as far as we're aware, that's the only one that has a name change. The other Autobot that came out in 1988 is Sizzle, which is this one, and then the Generation 2 version, 1994, and again kept the same name. Now with the Decepticons on the other side, they also kept the same names. So what we've got is Flame Feather here, he's the blue one. And there, it is the Generation 2 version. Same as Sizzle this, so the Generation 1 was 1988 and then 1994 for Generation 2. And exactly the same with Spark Stalker here on the right hand side. So again, 1988 and then 1994. It's unknown as to why Fizzle or Blaze had a different name, it's just the way that he was marketed. These figures are obviously very, very basic transformations. I suppose they were released mainly as little stocking fillers because they were pretty much that. Even the card on the back of the one that I've got here looks like it was only, oh, there we go, $3.99 in there. So there's an original Generation 1 Flame Feather, and on the back we've got a little bit of a battle scene there from, if you're in Japan, Super God Master Force, or just the Headmasters and Pretenders line if you were in America, UK and Australasian. The difference with this and the Generation 2 card, and that's why I'm showing you this, is because there is a tech spec. Now with the Generation 2, excuse the fact that that's just fell over, let me grab it. With the Generation 2 sparkabots, you've got them inside the bubble, but then when you turn them over, you've just got the transformation, and you can see obviously the other side of the bubble. Right, so, oh, that's not going to stay typically. Now, the main gimmick with this, and unfortunately, so I'm probably going to get a thumbs down for this, was the fact that they were sparkabots or fire-breathing figures. And unfortunately, as I say, because these have stood the test of time and obviously been very, very loved by their previous owners, none of them work. But you can see with all the Autobots here, they've got these wheels and then sparks shot out of the back of them when they're in vehicle mode. And with the Decepticons, the sparks shot out of their mouths. Although I've got all the Autobots a couple of times in the other modes on the shelf, I haven't got the Generation 2. So in a second, I'm going to just quickly transform them off camera to keep the length of the video down. But before I do, I did mention that obviously in Generation 1 there were 3 of each, and that's because there was Cindersaur, who was the other Decepticon one, and of course there was Guzzle, who was the other Autobot one. But these weren't released under the Generation 2 line, so they didn't have any redecos and obviously weren't released under Generation 2. I'm going to take these away, transform these into their alternate modes, and I'll be back with you in 2 seconds. Right then, so yes, I've transformed them all. Again, sorry it was off camera, but that's mainly to keep the length of the video down. And as you can see, they're all in their alternate modes. So again, very common with the Autobots, their alternate modes are vehicles, and again, very common with the Decepticons, their alternate modes are like animals or beasts, shall we say. So the main things to be aware of, ironically enough, is when these are in the alternate modes. And that is, of course, when you've got Sizzle here, that he's got some chrome on the front, and I've just transformed this guy, and he hasn't been transformed in ages, and this part here can get very, very stiff, and I imagine that the metal, and I've seen a few in the past, get corroded right there. So that's something to be aware of with these. The transformations are very, very simple. So as I say, though you didn't even see it, you can just tell it's literally folding the face down, pulling this out. So because of that, I'd say be aware on all of these, the hinges here, which, as I say, lifts and opens up their head. You can hear they're quite stiff. I've seen them get damaged and broken in the past quite a lot, so that's something to be aware of and to look out for with the Autobots. Also, you've got metal in the wheels as well, so check for corrosion there. So yeah, with the Autobots, it's mainly how you're accessing the head on the front flaps of the vehicles that you need to be aware of. With the Decepticons, and again, I didn't know these because they've been in other modes, the arms can be really quite loose. You can see that just literally just a tiny touch and that'll fall down. So depending on how you want to display them, these are normally in robot mode on my shelf. But otherwise, again, lots of screws in all the joints on the arms. That's something you do need to be aware of, and you can see more so now they're in their alternate mode, where the wheel is and where the sparks would come out. So because some of them have been used, you can see there's a bit of corrosion on the inside there. That's probably just due to all the sparks that they've shot out from them. But they're quite a cool little bunch of figures. They're not amazing. They didn't set the world alight with their transformations and things. They perhaps could have set a few things alight with their sparks. I made another dad joke, Guzzy. There you go, another name drop as well. But yeah, nice figures. 1988 originals for Generation 1. 93 for the Generation 2 version of Blaze, and 1994 for the others. And yeah, the reason why I've got them is obviously to complete the collection, more so than for their articulation and their playability, although I do remember having at least a couple of these when I was a child. So for that reason, and exactly that reason why I do all these videos, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it brought back some happy memories, or some memories of when you first had these. That's the point of these. Again, I do have every single one of the Generation figures released by Hasbro, so if you want me to showcase any figure for yourself to bring back some nice memories for yourself, please let me know. For all you guys who haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and again, the ones who have, keep liking and sending me in your suggestions. I'm really enjoying this. I hope you are too. Thanks very much. Bye bye.